One of the most iconic images of America is the Statue of Liberty. Since 1886, she has stood there 151 feet high in New York Harbor. As we come up on July 4th, next Saturday, it's interesting to note in one hand she holds that torch, in her other hand she has a tablet, and written on that tablet is that date of almost 250 years ago. It says on that tablet, July 4th, 1776. The Statue of Liberty is truly a symbol of the United States. It's a little interesting to know that when the Statue of Liberty was under construction, there was suspicion by many people. You know, it was a gift from France. Was this a political ploy? Or was getting this gift going to be some sort of massive financial burden? And then there was that poem. The story goes that money was needed to build the pedestal. You know, the statue stands on a pedestal. And one of the fundraising efforts, they wanted this poet, Emma Lazarus, to write a poem. And she at first resisted. She didn't want to do it. But then she got to understanding how this statue would be right in that harbor, welcoming so many immigrants coming into America. And so she said, yes, I'll write a poem. And in that poem, it ends with those famous lines. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Words of radical welcome to people who might feel easily rejected. For immigrants coming into New York Harbor, this Statue of Liberty and that poem, well, were signs of a different kind of place, a different kind of country, one that would include them, whoever they were. A statue opening a golden door of possibility, inviting them in. Immigration is certainly a charged subject in our country today. I don't know if you saw the Supreme Court had a ruling just this week that ended a humanitarian program to let Haitian and Syrian immigrants who've been here, that they can't stay in the U.S. temporarily. So many refugees and immigrants in our country are feeling uncertain and at risk and even afraid right now. What does it really mean to be a place that welcomes not only the brightest and the best, but might even welcome the poor, the homeless, the wretched refuse that poem says? In our country's history, there are certainly times when we've done that, and there are ways that we haven't. It can be a challenge to really have open doors. And so what about the church? Shift, because that Statue of Liberty and that Emma Lazarus poem do raise the subject of welcome, what it means to welcome. And actually, if you heard that gospel reading today, the word welcome appears 6 times in just that short passage. Jesus starts by saying, whoever welcomes you welcomes me. And then he goes on to say the consequence of welcoming Jesus is that you are welcoming the very God who sent him. And then in that passage, the hospitality of even a little cup of cold water is praised. Jesus seems to be saying that the very act of welcoming has a spiritual component. You may be doing more than you think when you welcome. That it can lead to a connection to Christ and to the divine. And even the smallest deeds of hospitality are praised. That's from our gospel today. I think our congregation does a pretty good job of welcoming newcomers. We actually care about people who arrive and want them to be received and greeted. And how about the food at our reception, at our coffee hour? Today we're going to have lemonade and frozen pops for everybody, as well as coffee and donut holes. Food can be a sign of welcome. I have to tell you that some of the youth in our congregation came up to me the other day, and they said, a group of them said, "We have an idea about how to grow this church." And I said, "What?" And they said, "Mints. People love a bowl of mints at the door, those puff mints, you know." She said they'll have this group said, the people will have those mints and they'll come back. So if you go back in the church today, there is a bowl of puff mints for people to enjoy. We hope that will help grow our congregation. That those teens were even thinking about drawing people into our church is a sign of the priority of welcome that we have in this parish. It's greater than any program. It's about being inclusive. It is that kind of congregation to really try to welcome and be inclusive. Now, I've actually done some consulting with other churches around, and what I come in for is to help them to grow their congregation, to go and talk to them about that. And I can tell you, universally, every church that I've consulted with, they feel like they're welcoming and they want to grow. That's a given. And so one of the questions for them to reflect on is, why? Why do you want to invite and welcome people into your church? And so if they're honest, there's going to be a variety of motives that start to come out. People do want to share their joyful community and their faith, which is terrific with other people. Sometimes they talk about hoping, that their church continues on into the future. Okay. If they're honest, they might even say, I'm a little tired at doing the ministry that I do and love, and I'm hoping a new person will come and take it over for me. Okay? And some might even say, we could use some new pledges. We could use some new money. That could always help the church budget. Okay. These latter reasons start to sound a little bit about what you would get from new people rather than what we could give. It can sometimes be a challenge to have a selfless welcome with no agenda. Tell you another challenge of welcoming people is realizing that when new people arrive, some things have to change. There can be this assumption, maybe not said out loud, that, we want new people to join, but we want them to keep everything the way that we like it. Keep things the way they are. And that can be true. When you think about it, new people are going to bring new gifts, new perspectives, new needs, even new ideas. If new people are included, really included, and not just guests, then who they are and what they need should be embraced and acknowledged. That needs to be true of a church community but maybe even a country, to think about what it means to welcome new people in and what changes might need to happen. Let me offer another challenge of welcome, and that has to do with limits. There's a saying that we use here in the parish, and it's actually around the diocese too, and the statement is, all are welcome, but not all behaviors are welcome. All are welcome, but not all behaviors are welcome. All are welcome, whatever your background, financial institution connected with, your beliefs, whoever you are welcome here. It is so key that there's not some box that needs to be checked for somebody to become a part of our Christian community. But not all behaviors are welcome. Different opinions and points of view, of course we want that. That's encouraged. But there's no room in our church for hatred. None. We have to set some norms about basic civility and how we treat each other. It's got to be okay for communities and individuals to have limitations and boundaries that they don't tolerate. And of course, we have to set some boundaries to keep everyone safe, particularly the children in our community. Jesus invites his followers into the challenges and joys of welcome. He models hospitality and open arms, particularly to the vulnerable and to people who might easily be rejected by the greater society. And Christ proclaims a spiritual component in efforts to acknowledge and greet. Saint Benedict, a saint who lived in the 500s, had a motto for all who would visit his monasteries. If we really took in this motto, it might change a little bit how we think about any stranger or newcomer who arrives. His motto was, "Let each visitor be received as Christ."